Hey everyone, Jared James here, and welcome to episode 54 of the hashtag Jared James Show. I am joined today by my very special guest, Rick Foley. You want to say hello, Rick?
Hey guys, how are you?
Awesome. So as I always say, guys, if you get a chance, give this a thumbs up if you enjoy it. Leave a comment at the bottom. Make sure you subscribe, turn on those notifications, and share this with someone that you think would benefit from it. Today, what I wanted to talk about, we are actually coming to you from the Jared James Advance, where we've got a lot of people here from all over North America learning how to run better businesses.
That's right.
And when you look at the stuff that I had Rick share on the stage about the 7 different levels of team development and the 7 stages of growth as a team, I wanted to kind of talk about how do you determine what the next hire is, right? So for some of you listening right now, you have never, or some of you watching, you've never even thought of the idea of any hire. Forget about the next hire. For you, you've grown up in a world where it's just, I'm everything. I do everything, I whatever. And you say things like, well, I don't want to manage people. And my response to that always is, you're always managing people. You're managing your clients. And so it's just a matter of whether you're going to manage your clients, you have no control over, or you're going to manage people you work with, you have a little bit more control over, okay? And so when we talk about that next hire, let's kind of dive into that. So First off, what are your thoughts on, let's kind of bring the full gamut here, right?
Sure.
Brand new. Whether somebody is brand new or somebody is 5 years in, but they have nobody working with them, they're everything, they're running themselves ragged, their family can't stand them, that world. What do you think the first hire is?
Yeah, well, Jared, I think it's really simple. If you're in real estate, your very first hire ought to be a transaction coordinator. It's simple, it's an easy hire. There's very little risk involved. You should select them as an independent contractor. You pay them per transaction. If the transaction
no risk.
Doesn't close.
That's right.
You're not obligated to pay anything. And I think you ought to make that hire day one in real estate.
100%.
You simply turn in your license to your real estate broker if you're with a brokerage, and the next thing you're looking for is a transaction coordinator. You say, well, Rick, I don't even have a transaction. You will.
Right.
And you can't make $150,000 a year by doing a 15-hour job. So get a transaction coordinator. It's a no-brainer. It is one of the greatest gifts to the real estate industry to have the ability to hire somebody legitimately as an independent contractor, and you're obligated to pay them when you get paid.
That's right.
So once you get a paycheck, then you cut a paycheck themselves.
You got a busy month, pay more. You got a slow month, pay nothing.
And most real estate agents have, on the DISC personality profile scale, they're a high IS. They're interpersonal skills. They love dealing with people. I mean, they love going to different group settings, and your transaction coordinator is on the complete opposite side. They're the analytical. They're the one that dots the I's, crosses the T's. I mean, they have the engineer mindset, and that's what most real estate agents need. Easy, your first hire should be a transaction coordinator.
Okay, so you know that I'm in agreement with that. People listening right now know that I'm in agreement with that. We literally created a transaction coordination department at Jarja Media, so you know that that's the case. We love that. We think that's right. Now, how come, because you hear all the time, the first hire is an admin. Mm-hmm. So is that the next hire? And if so, why is that not the first hire? Mm-hmm. So shouldn't the admin be doing the transaction coordination? What are they doing? Great question. So what's the next hire, and why is it not the first hire?
Well, that's a great question, Jared, because you often hear first hire is hire your administrative assistant, and then you're bringing that
was the world we were in for a while.
It was.
Yeah.
And so now with a transaction coordinator, here's my wager. You hire a transaction coordinator, and it will double your business. When you have a taste of that, you're going to be like, what's the next level?
More importantly, really quickly before we move on with that, the other thing that does is, when you look at the type of people that are in real estate, right? You guys are control fanatics. You are like, they're not going to do it like me. You stomp, like when you hire someone as it is, you don't even allow them to do the job. You just kind of take over and whatever. So one of the reasons why that transaction coordinator comes first is not just for your business and everything else. It's to get you to get used to the idea that I can delegate. And wow, this is a good thing.
Absolutely.
Because when you start tasting of that and you see how good that is, you start to go, look at that. I was afraid of that. I thought that wouldn't work out too well. I thought nobody would be able to do it. I thought my clients would have an issue with it. And now you get to little bit kind of dip your toe and realize, oh, wait a second, this is good.
Well, that's exactly right. And what happens is your transaction coordinator breaks you through a ceiling of achievement. Each person has their own ceiling of achievement. And then what happens is you add a team member, a transaction coordinator being the first one, and it breaks you through to a new level of achievement. And then you'll reach a new ceiling.
Yeah.
And you got to break through that ceiling. And the only way you're going to break through that ceiling is by adding leverage, adding more team members. And then so your second hire, not your first, but your second hire is your administrative assistant. And we believe that an administrative assistant, you know, Jared, you and I have talked about this before. When you first hire an administrative assistant, they have a lot of hats that they wear.
That's right.
And we use that metaphorically because you're going to start pulling those hats off their head over time and putting them on new people as you grow and you try to reach new levels.
So you're saying in the beginning, that hire is going to do more in the beginning than they're going to do as they move forward.
And as you grow your real estate team, your administrative assistant, which will then become your director of operations,
eventually,
in the 7 levels, they're going to be doing very few things. But now,
later on,
in the very early stages, they're doing about everything.
What are they doing?
Okay, so a great administrative assistant leverages you along with your transaction coordinator, and what you are doing, you really have as a real estate agent, or what we call a team leader, you have a job description, and it's really a not-to-do list.
Right.
Like, I don't want you doing a million things. I only want you doing 3 things. Generate new clients, convert those clients that you have, both buyers and sellers, and provide them a great buying or selling experience. Like, those are the only 3 things that you ought to be doing. Beyond that, your administrative assistant and your transaction coordinator covers the myriad of other things.
What's an admin doing? So it's been
great,
commonly held that, like, you get your admin on and they take care of all of the paperwork stuff and that kind of stuff, and you have a transaction coordinator now. So what the heck's an admin doing? They're not managing the transactions.
Great question. So the first hat you're going to put on their head is marketing. Marketing is a great role for an SC, this personality role. They dot the I's, they cross the T's, they know exactly what they're looking for, and it leverages your business. You are out meeting clients, showing properties, writing offers. All of that's going to come with more leverage, where you're going to hire people that do that. But for now, in this stage, it's you meeting your client, and they're going to provide marketing. They're supposed to provide social media.
Yeah.
How many times where you do social media and it's not consistent?
Right.
They're going to create that consistency where every day there's a social media post.
Yep.
Operations. There's a lot of operational things that we do as real estate agents. Like, you should never do those again.
Right.
And once you get the taste of both a transaction coordinator and a great administrative assistant, you're never going back. I mean, once we did that over 15 years ago, Jared, like, I would never think of going back to doing that myself.
You're like, what was I thinking?
But it was the scariest file when I was the one stuffing the papers in there. You know.
So people who are watching right now, though, I almost keep saying listening because I've been doing podcasts, this show podcast. But when you look at the people that are watching right now, they hear that, and I don't think people disagree. I think they're like, I'd love an admin.
Yeah.
I'd love a TC.
Yeah.
And they can wrap their head around the idea of a TC. They're like, all right, pay when you close. I kind of get it. I'm giving up a little bit of but I get it.
Yeah.
How does somebody, or when does somebody make the decision to afford an admin?
Yeah.
Like, how do they know it's time? Like, how do they know?
Yeah. So what you're going to find is that you are going to have, once you have a transaction coordinator, you're spending more of your time lead generating. And you have some opportunities, and you're going to be feeling like you have to pass on those opportunities to meet with new clients. It's at that moment, I call it kind of a birthing pains. It's like, okay, at that moment, something new is coming, something great is coming, and you better have an administrative assistant so that you can go and show more properties. Everything that, and when you're developing as a real estate agent and building a team, it all comes from a problem. My problem is, Jared, I don't have enough time to serve my buyers and sellers. I don't have enough time. How do I make time? It would be a better use of my time to be with them than here stuffing papers or operational things in the office. How do I make that time? I hire a great administrative assistant. And the great administrative assistant will do that. And I think there's 5 steps. Can I talk about that briefly? 5 steps to how to hire. And we discuss this on team leader coaching with all of our students. So if you don't
Rick Rick not only runs the #1 team in San Francisco doing over $100 million in sales every year, but he also coaches our team leader coaches. So when it comes to us dealing not just in our gold and our platinum coaching and that stuff, but the actual team leader coaching that walks people through the process of building that, from stage 1 through stage 7, wherever that is that they want to go, Rick is the guy that actually coaches our coaches. So he knows what he's talking about.
So Jared, the 5 steps that you and I talk about regularly, the 5 steps, number 1, you need to recruit them, which means that you need to know what you're looking for. And I want you to think of it like a missing persons profile. Like you know who you're looking for. You're searching a crowd, looking for that right person, and you're recruiting them. Once you've recruited them and you find that what you think is the right person, and by the way, you probably ought to interview 8, 9, 10 people. Right. Don't just settle for the first person.
Because you're busy.
It's not the neighborhood kid. Like, make the right decision here. Whoever you surround yourself with as a real estate team, they'll put a ceiling on you. I call it the law of the lid, right? Your leadership is only going to grow to the level of the people that you surround yourself by.
Right.
So number 2 is you're going to hire them. So you're going to recruit them and then you're going to hire them. And most of the time you bring them on part-time or full-time, depending on how busy you are, how much activity you have. We recommend you have a thorough job description, which we provide in our team leader training. And so we do this, we hire them. The next step is we train them. Real estate agents are generally terrible employers.
Yeah.
It's like, I've got 20 years of real estate
Figured out, that's what I did.
in my mind, and then I welcome them into the office for the first day, and I expect they understand
like as if
what
the
I'm
thumb
thinking.
drive just went from you into me, and I get it.
And the moment they're like, I don't understand what you're talking about, you get frustrated, there's lack of expectations, they leave or you fire them. So look,
and by the way, it's always their fault.
Of course.
It's always their fault. They didn't work out. They didn't know what to do.
And then
they
you do it
didn't.
again.
Yep.
And then you do it again.
Again.
So have a job description. Walk them through what the job description is. And after you've hired them, and generally they come in as an employee.
Yeah.
Right? So I mean, we're not talking about the transaction coordinator, independent contractor, we're talking about an employee, administrative assistant. And then the next step after.
And by the way, when you say that, when you say train them, I like to always say that you either take the time to train them the right way, or you take the time to do their job for them again, to fix their work.
Yeah.
You're going to take the time either way. So while we're saying that we're so busy and we don't have time to train them, well, you're going to spend the time then fixing the stuff they didn't do because you didn't train them.
And remember, Jared, you don't have to do all that training. I mean, like, you could leverage a lot of that out. Jared has a lot of great resources, like in the blueprint, for example. I mean, this is a way to get a team member going. If they don't know real estate, they can walk through the blueprint. By the end of the blueprint, it's from start to finish, and they have an understanding of real estate. Your title company, your lender, your home warranty company, a lot of people can help you with this.
Right.
After you've hired them, and I know I'm cutting through this very quickly, and you train them, look, do not give up the training. Do not do any shortcuts with the training program. Make sure you're thorough. You will be glad that you did. Understand that there's a 90-day check. People don't often begin to show a return on investment till after 90 days. After 90 days, they start feeling comfortable with the job that you have, and you can determine whether you've made the right hire. And then you're going to.
But you don't know at week 1.
You don't know at week 1.
Yeah.
And you go through this process, Jared, where it's like, I call it I, we, they training.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing it, or in our case, we have leaders that are doing it, the training. Then we are doing it together. Jared, let's do this together. You're going to do it, I'm going to do it. And then they do it and we watch.
Right.
And the 90 days, 30, 60, 90 days, we break out an I, we, and they training. And then you're going to move from training and you're going to be consulting them. Because what happens is you find they get really good, and if you've done the right hire, they've got a better DISC personality profile to work these administrative systems than you, and you don't really have a lot more to add to their training, and so you're consulting them. And here's what I found, an interesting thing that happens. If you can help somebody else author the plan, they'll own it. Right? Like, if I write the plan, Jared, here's what we're going to do. They're like, nah, that's Rick's plan. But if I can consult them in a way where they author the plan, they own it. And the 5th step in this process is that you retain them. Does you no good to have a revolving door? People coming in and people leaving. You want that. You want to retain them. And here's what I found. People don't leave companies. They leave toxic cultures. Your culture is at the center of your retention. You have great culture, you retain more team members. If you have poor culture, you don't understand your culture, you've not defined your culture, you have a toxic culture, they flee. And you create that revolving door. It's like the hotel.
And you're constantly having to go through the steps again, through the steps again, through the steps again.
And they just spin around and then they go back out. And so what we do is make sure that you know your culture and every team member. You know, when we do our training, I still reserve the culture conversation for our team members. We have about 50 team members. And everyone has a culture conversation with me because I believe it is that important to make sure that we have that retention that's needed.
And ultimately, when you're not following this and you're not actually bringing people through these steps and they're leaving over and over again, what the team leader eventually does is just kind of like, this isn't for me.
Oh, yeah.
This isn't, I'm not into that. I tried that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And it's like, no. The process you followed didn't work, right?
Yeah, right.
So I want to go one more step here because obviously if we tried to do all 7 stages, guys, I mean, we literally get into expansion and like all this other stuff. But the next hire after you go from a TC to an admin is now your buyer's agent, right?
Great point.
But now you, and actually what we teach now within our program is that when you are hiring buyer's agents, you want to talk a little bit about that? Are you hiring one at a time? Are you hiring 2 at a time? Are you hiring and why?
So great question. And we do get into this, the 7 levels at Mastermind.
Yep, absolutely.
So if you plug into Mastermind at the next available Mastermind, we go through the 7 levels in great depth, answer your questions. So there's a place for that. Okay, so buyer's agent, we believe hire 3 to 5. You're like, Rick, I've never hired one. Hire 3 to 5. Here's why you want to hire 3 to 5. When you hire more than one person, this interesting thing happens. You start establishing best practices.
Right.
Like one person does it better than another. One person understands it and helps the other person understand. Like best practices. And then you can compare and contrast. How do you really know you have a great buyer's agent if you only have one?
Right.
Like, but you
what is it compared
against? You put 5 in the room, and you can compare and contrast. You're like,
rise to the top, right?
That's the best. They're pretty good.
Average.
They're better. This one may not be here, and one's going to leave. And look, that's inevitable. People come and people go.
Right.
And so, I think it's important that you hire multiple buyer's agents. And the other thing is that you're going to find, and I touched on it just a moment ago, is not everybody's going to stay. Not everybody. That's okay.
Right.
Look, do not let that stumble you. Right. Like, do not be stumbled by people coming in and leaving your organization. It happens. You want to minimize
the nature of that job too.
But that's what happens.
That's the nature of that job.
Hire 3 to 5 buyer's agents. And here's the interesting thing. Jared, how much more time does it take to train 3 to 5 than it trains 1?
That's exactly right.
One lead buyer's agent, or we call director buyer's agent, right? They're directing them, they're leading them. They can put people around a table. They can have 5 people come into a room, have a conversation. There's no additional time. Why hire one and do that one-on-one when you could do that one-on-5?
Plus creating the competition amongst those people. Like there's something about that when people know they're being pushed. They know that they're being compared against somebody.
Totally.
They know when they have that drive inside of them, they want to do better. They want to do more. You completely kill any opportunity for that when you just have one person there. And what incentive do they have?
Absolutely. And real estate can be a lonely place. I mean, you got to think about it. They're coming from a place where they had a paycheck every 2 weeks of their life. And now instead of coming and say, you're my only buyer's agent, let's figure this out together, and they just left their professional job, you put them in a room full of buyer's agents and they're learning and growing together and best practices are established. So hire, and then this is what buyer's specialists, buyer's agents enable you to do, focus on listings.
That's exactly right.
And you can generate more listings. And as you generate more listings, each listing you can squeeze out more.
If you're doing it right, now you're creating more leads.
You need marketing.
That's right.
Because you've got all these listings, and you're like, I'm not marketing them sufficiently. If I marketed them sufficiently, I'd have more listing opportunities, more buyer opportunities for my buyer's agents. And so as you focus, you find that you start getting a flood of listings that you never thought possible. And now we call it listing squeezation, where we squeeze out every single opportunity possible within every listing. Every buyer, every seller that's embedded in that listing, we squeeze them out and try to
And don't you feel like a little bit now when you're hiring those people now, you feel a little bit of pressure to do that now too, because it's not just yourself you're relying on. Now you have these people that are relying on you. Totally. And so that area where you might have gotten lazy before, you might have made excuses before, all of a sudden you're like, I have to leverage this listing right now. I have to get everything I can.
It's very different when you go to work, Jared, and there's, 10, 15, 20 people that are counting on you. They are relying on you. You know that.
I am aware.
But but there's a flip side of the coin, and I don't know if you and I've ever talked about it, but although there's responsibility, there's a great gift when you can bring on a team member.
I talk about this all the time.
And help them accomplish their goals.
Yes.
A lot of real estate agents will say, I want to get into the business, I want to pass out keys to a first-time home buyer.
That's right.
And now my joy has transitioned to not passing out just keys to a first-time home buyer. That's great, love that.
Yes.
But also saying, like, I want to help my team members. I want to pass out
livelihood
keys to
these people. Not even just that, but just the fact that you're providing livelihood to these people. You've created created a culture and a place where they work. This is where they make their living, but they enjoy the people they work with.
Yeah.
And it's because of what you've created.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well,
and that's the part that gets left out, that when you start talking about growing and doing these things, it's all about, I don't want to manage, I don't want to this, I don't want whatever. But everybody says, I'm about other people. I want to help other people. That is one way that you help other people, is by creating a culture and building an organization that you can bring people into that is not only a safe place, it's a fun place. It allows them to enjoy that culture, create relationships that they'll have for years and years. You are stealing that from them when you create narratives like, I don't want to manage people.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's just selfish.
Yeah, it's absolutely
like, it's not, life's not about you.
The moment you have an agent come up and they bought their first home and you know you were a part of creating that system, or they bought their dream home, or they're fully funding their retirement, or they paid off their college education, and you had a small part. They did the work. Right, like you're not.
They're getting paid for what they're doing. Yeah, there's no doubt they're working for it.
An environment that produces success. Hey, and in an industry where it's a desert out there, that's not happening. The average agent, according to the National Association of Realtors, making $41,000 last year. Yeah. The average manager at McDonald's made $41,000, and they had a medical, dental, and a 401k plan.
That's exactly right.
And so, if you can create that environment, there's a great sense of satisfaction as a team leader. That you had a hand in doing that.
Look, man, I mean, Nicole standing behind the camera right now, just closed on a house, or about to close, or about to close. Tom just put an offer on a house. He's going to go do it. And like, you have these things happening. I love that. So look, we got through stage 3. There's 7 stages, okay? Yeah. We have team leader coaching that goes through the stages depending on where someone's trying to go and what they're trying to do and what that infrastructure looks like and what the next hire is and all that stuff. If you want to check that out, just go to jaredjamestoday.com. But for a lot of you on here, what I'd love for you to do is, as I always say, if you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up. Say thank you to Rick over here in the comments below. I'd like to know what your next hire is. Yes. I'd like to know maybe what mistakes you think you've made in the past. If you would post those below, and maybe what we'll do is we'll do another show sometime where we'll cover the other stages, or maybe we'll cover the other stages in a podcast or do something like that. If you would like to hear those stages and what's in them, let me know. I'd love to hear it. Guys, as I always say, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. Share this with somebody that you think it would benefit them. It means the world to me that you watch. Have a great day.
Take care.